Visiting Versailles will blow your eyes. Let me share with you what I know about visiting Versailles so you can make your perfect day according to your tastes and interests. And I will share with you what would be my perfect day in Versailles. Bonjour, my name is Blandine and I am a big fan of Versailles, and for 80% of my life I've lived in or around Paris. And right now I feel very lucky as I live between Versailles and Paris. With Paris Créa, I'm sharing about visiting Paris in front of a camera. I'm going to try to keep things organized here, but Versailles is a tough one as the estate is very large and extensive, and I would say, in French, gigantesque. And when we say visiting Versailles, we mean visiting the estate of the Versailles Castle, but bear in mind that Versailles is the name of the whole town next to the Versailles Castle estate. And I will explain more about visiting Versailles the town at the end of this video. Here I will describe the whole Versailles estate so you can see what there is to choose from. I will give you tips, we'll see what is free, and I will give you infos about the Versailles towns too. And I'll give you my perfect day in Versailles. So, let's describe the whole Versailles Palace estate. In the whole Versailles estate, there is the Versailles Palace, there are the gardens, the park, the estate of Trianon, which is another estate on its own with its park, gardens, and 2 castles inside, and a farm, a theatre. There is also outside the castle estate the royal tennis courts, the great stables, aka the coach stables, the small stables, aka the sculpture and molding gallery. What you don't want to miss is the palace visit, of course, but you can go on a rapid pace for some of it, and the gardens. And ideally, you would want to visit the gardens when the fountains are working, which is a tricky one. But it's worth your time checking for it. And then there is a lot more visits to choose from that will open doors only with a guided tour. Now, of course, the castle is a must-do visit, and La Galerie des Glaces is incredible. This hall of mirrors was built upon a terrace. At the beginning, there was no hall. And due to bad weather, when the king and the queen were meeting and crossing the castle from one wing to another, they had to build and cover the terrace so they can walk protected. So that's the start of the building of the Hall of Mirrors. Keep in mind that back then mirrors were very rare and very expensive. They were coming from Italy, so it was a great way of showing off. And this room became a room of huge social events. So in the castle, the Louis XIV's rooms retrace his life, his history, the life of the court, and the major event of this period. The furniture is little or non-original. There are a lot of people in those rooms, but don't hesitate to move at a good pace here. Fun fact here, the King's Chamber was the room where he would publicly get prepared for the day, not his real bedroom. You can visit the real bedroom in the guided tour. Then you will see les grands appartements, and they are more lavishly decorated. They are luxuriously adorned with marble, painting, sculptures. The Apollon room is a special room, as it was the Louis XIV's throne room. It was a room dedicated to the god of sun, with whom Louis XIV identified himself. So we know him as Le Roi Soleil, Sun King. I would say the garden level rooms are of a good interest, because they are more furnished and beautifully renovated. In Versailles Palace, you will hear about Louis XIV, Louis XV and Louis XVI, and a little bit of Napoleon. A must-do visit is the gardens. During the high season, the musical fountain shows are scheduled every weekend and some weekdays, so you want to check for them. And when you arrive at the castle, you would want to ask for the fountain show schedule because they vary from date to date. As a matter of fact, it's for most of them a real person turning on the water and turning it off. So they are only activated on the high season from April until October. In the winter season, you can still see the fountains, but there won't be any fountain show or musical show. It can happen in September or October that they will not open, or very few, the fountains because of a very low water level if the season has been very dry. So the whole garden fountain shows is known in French as les grandes eaux musicales. Literally, it means big musical waters. You will explore the fountains and groves with their water features spouting to the rhythm of Baroque music, and several circuits are available to enable you to enjoy them. Some feel as masterpieces and some feel as secret spots. Don't skip it. The basins are fed by 35 kilometers of hydraulic pipes dating back to the 17th century. And 13 fountain men or women look after the pipes, basin and fountains. So these gardens are the link between the castle, the palace, and the park, where you have Le Grand Canal. The gardens can be only accessed with the ticket, except in winter, it's free in winter. But the park is free all year long. And you can walk around Le Grand Canal, but beware, it's a cross, so it will take you about 1 hour and 20 minutes to go around it. Le Versailles Estate Park has 350,000 trees. Among those are beautiful trees. If you are a tree lover, you would find on the Trianon estate a dedicated map of the beautiful trees you have to find. Now let's talk about the Trianon estate. There is another estate called Trianon Estate that belongs to the Versailles Castle Estate, but which is separated by a free portion of the Castle Park, of the Versailles Estate Park. I know it can sound confusing, I have a lot of maps here, so I will try to show you through the maps. So, the Palace Castle and the gardens are one estate, with one ticket. And the Trianon Estate is one other ticket. But if you buy the passport, you have the two combined and you can go everywhere, which I recommend. The Trianon Estate, le Petit Trianon, le Grand Trianon, le Hameau de la Reine, and le Parc and the Gardens are worth your time too. Le Hameau de la Reine is the Queen's Hamlet. Le Grand Trianon was completed in 1688 at the request of Louis XIV, who made it his private country chateau, far from the court of Versailles. Since then, Le Grand Trianon has had several lives and many tenants, among whose Queen Elizabeth II of England, Queen Beatrix of Netherlands, King Hassan II from Morocco, and two American presidents, Carter and Reagan. Le Hameau de la Reine is Marie-Antoinette estate in the Trianon estate. And Marie-Antoinette was married at 14 years old to the future king, so she was queen at 18. And she soon set the tone at Versailles, becoming heavily involved in architectural and landscaping projects. And the guided tour about her private apartments is a great one. I loved it. But it's rather difficult to book it as there are not so many time slots. So you can look for it. I'll show you what you're looking for. Fashion, music, and theater played an important role in Marie Antoinette's life. She performed her own plays in the privacy theater she had in the Trianon estate. And it's also a small, nice guided tour because this theater is as it was back then, and seeking for a more authentic life, especially with her kids, Marie Antoinette settled at Le Petit Trianon that was donated by Louis XVI. She was deeply involved in her children's education, which was very avant-garde, and the hameau was for her a place for strolling as much as a place for learning and educating her kids. So visiting Le Hameau de la Reine with a guided tour is also a very good idea. Now, outside the Palace estate, but belonging to the Palace estate, you also have 3 small visits worth seeing, even if doing them quickly. It's the Royal Tennis Courts, as it's a ticket point in the French history. It's all about when it began to be bad for the king and we were moving towards democracy. The second one is the Sculpture Gallery, and the third one is the Coach Gallery, so that you would understand where our cars come from. And it's a quick visit too. All these 3 visits are worth seeing, but without spending too much time in it. Now let's dive into some tips. The best day to visit Versailles would be a Sunday, because everything should be open, including the Sculpture Gallery, the Coach Gallery and the Royal Tennis Courts, and the Garden Fontaine will be on show. The Versailles Castle app will serve you as self-guide to navigate the estate and checking opening hours. The whole estate is closed on Mondays. Of course, you should buy your ticket in advance, and the passport ticket is worth your money, all the more if you are planning to stay the whole day on the Versailles estate. If you have the whole day, you can spend 2 hours in the palace, 1.5 hours in the gardens, make a lunch break, visit Trianon estate in the afternoon, and why not end your day on the canal. In case walking is not a problem for you, you should walk from one part of the estate to another. And usually I see people waiting for the cart or the small cars or the train, and it always seems a waste of visiting time to me. Is a guided tour a good idea? I would say yes, because you'll get to the points of what there is to see versus what is less important, and they will show you places not allowed without a guide. Plus, you will go through the security at the entrance on a speed lane. So for me, it's worth the spending. For instance, I visited with the guide the king's apartment and it was great. I also visited Marie Antoinette's apartment. I loved it. It was beautiful. I visited Marie Antoinette Theatre. It was beautiful too. And I visited with a guided tour Le Hameau de Marie Antoinette. Very beautiful too. Usually guided tours last 1.5 hours. So you have plenty of time to do more, joining back the self-guided tour by your own. And the guided tour is 10 euros per person upon your passport or entrance ticket. It's also difficult to know which guided tours will be available, so you have to check regularly. And my tip here would be to look at the French guided tours, as for instance, as I'm recording, there are much more guided tours in French than in English. But first, what you should look for is a day when musical fountains show will be on, and it will be included in your passport ticket. It mixes the beauty of nature and art. Now let's get a little bit of history here. As he became king, Louis XIV now wanted his own chateau created for him and by him. He didn't want to settle in the Louvre or any other castles, as this castle didn't belong to his family. So he decided to turn the small Château de Versailles into a palace of his own glory. At the time, the Château de Versailles, Versailles Castle, was a modest chateau where his father Louis XIII liked to rest after his long hunting trips in the surrounding woods. And Louis XIV's project was colossal, even requiring the draining of marshy land to create his gardens and le canal. Some days, 36,000 workers were on site. Louis XIV began work on the Château de Versailles in 1661, and he was closely involved in the construction process, from the creation of the plans to their execution in the field. In 1677, Louis XIV, the Sun King, decided to make the Château de Versailles the main residence of the King of France. And a few years later, the entire court moved to Versailles. So Versailles became the center of power, but also a place renowned for its sumptuous festivities. Doing so, Louis XIV made le Château de Versailles a showcase for French national wealth and craftsmanship. What about the Versailles town? Is it worth it? So this video is getting very long. I will go short on this one and maybe do another video on Versailles. Of course, yes, the town of Versailles is a very beautiful town. Our architecture is very nice. It's a nice place for market. It's a nice place for shopping. In case you don't have the time to go to the flea market north of Paris, you can go to the little flea market of Versailles, which is just near to the marketplace and which is a very nice place to go. The fresh produce market of Versailles is incredible. It's on Tuesday, Fridays and Sunday morning. Here is the address of a very good quality price, affordable restaurant to me, as far as French cooking is concerned. I've been there several times. Trianon Palace is a luxury hotel just at the entrance gate of the Parc de Versailles estate, and you can have a drink, a lunch. It's a nice place too. So my perfect day in Versailles, I would begin with a guided tour of some place I might not know about so far, or any guided tour they would offer. I would go to see La Galerie des Glaces again, the Hall of Mirrors again, because it's beautiful. It's like the Eiffel Tower. You can go there over and over, you never get bored of it. I mean, I wouldn't. Then I would have an early lunch. First, because I don't eat breakfast, so at noon I'm very hungry. And at noon there is almost nobody in restaurants, so it's quieter. If my budget is okay, I would have a lunch at Or, the Ducasse restaurant, or I would eat at Angelina Trianon on the terrace if my budget is middle, or I would picnic around the canal if my budget is zero. I would then go again in the garden and see the fountain shows, as they are an incredible mixed match of nature and art. Versailles can be the perfect day as a family visit, as you can spend much time outside. You will feel the interest of foodies, you will feel the interest of the one who likes shopping. Everybody's interest should be fulfilled. Honestly, in the store you would find very interesting products. Again, a tough one here if you are on a saving budget. And there is also another store here around the canal dedicated to the garden stuff, and also a very difficult one to resist from. So what is free at Versailles? If you want to visit with no spending on weekends, you can visit la Galerie des Sculptures, la Galerie des Carrosses, le Jeu de Paume, le Parc, and in winter, the gardens. Now, here are a few fun facts. Le Domaine de la Lanterne, here on the limit of the Versailles Castle estate, was originally a hunting lodge. Until 2007, it was the second home of French prime ministers, and now it's the second home of French presidents. And they come here to relax with their families on weekends. There is only one king to have been born and who died at Versailles. It's Louis XV. Et voilà, I hope you enjoyed this video. If it was interesting to you and if it's helping you plan your visit to Versailles in advance, I would be thrilled if you would leave a blue thumb up and why not subscribe. Until next time, thank you for your time. Enjoy Versailles! C'est difficile, mais tu vas y arriver. Allez, on est parti. Ça part mal, hein? Ah, oups, on avait dit la pause. Je sais, je suis une grande poète. Non, maintenant, les petits trucs astuces de Maman Blandine.